Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambeau channel, and here's a headline from the Daily Hodl. Ripple executive says hackers and bugs can't stop Bitcoin. Well, who is this Ripple executive? It is none other than David Schwartz, who is Ripple's CTO and co-creator of the XRP ledger. The only thing is, he didn't say that hackers and bugs can't stop Bitcoin. Now, he was responding, fair enough, to a question about what is effectively a potential doomsday scenario for Bitcoin. And I'll share the specifics in just a moment here. But those words certainly did not come out of his mouth. And in fact, here's a piece written by David Schwartz on October 28th, 2020, titled Beyond Proof of Work, the XRP-L Consensus Solution. And this is Ripple's official blog. It's called Ripple Insights, where he goes on to state that proof of work is a dead end. Dead end is a quote. And so he's talking about, of course, proof of work being the consensus method utilized by Bitcoin to solve for the double spend problem, meaning if you hold a particular cryptocurrency, in this case Bitcoin, you want to be able to send it to Alice or Bob, but not both of them, because then that's a double spend, and there would be no confidence in the network itself. And so mining does solve for that problem, but there are other solutions out there. And so that's why when XRP was created, mind you, so again, David Schwartz, one of the original architects of the XRP ledger, but they were enthusiasts from the beginning. They were pro-Bitcoin and excited by it. They just wanted to create a new version, and they came up with a new form of consensus that resulted in just blazing speed, and way less expensive and not nearly as energy intensive here. But, and there's this too before I get out of the intro here. Piece from Crypto News Flash. Jed McCaleb, Bitcoin and Stellar Lumens can coexist in one ecosystem. And this was interesting, and I'll cover this in the later part of the video, but Jed McCaleb, of course, is the brainchild behind XRP. It was his idea. And so he's the one that worked with Arthur Brito and David Schwartz to create XRP and the XRP ledger. He then had a falling out with Ripple, the company, and even though he was a co-founder of Ripple, and went on to found the Stellar Development Foundation and Lumens, a competing cryptocurrency. At least many view it that way. But they're really going. Their business models are so different. I'm like, is it really competing? Anyway, so into this first piece here, though, titled, Ripple Executive Says Hackers and Bugs Can't Stop Bitcoin. Ripple Chief Technology Officer David Schwartz says Bitcoin is essentially bulletproof from the long-term threat of a hack or bug in the system. In a new post on Quora, Schwartz says miners who power the network would be able to patch things up in either event. He points to a moment in August of 2010 when a hacker was able to generate 184 billion Bitcoin out of nowhere through a flaw in the system. And how many of you knew that? I don't know if I've ever covered it on the channel. I was aware of this. It's not something I think about frequently. But, technologies upon release are almost never perfect, right? And even if you set aside, it's like some people say that Bitcoin is just fine as it is, even though it can only process 5 to 7 transactions per second. Okay, if it's just a store of value, maybe there's truth to that. We'll see. I'm still skeptical because I think when you get this next parabolic, portion of the market cycle coming at you, the fees. Think about this. The fees for a single Bitcoin transaction were over $50 in late 2017. What's going to happen as even more people jump in? What if a single a single Bitcoin transaction is hundreds of dollars? It kind of makes you wonder here. But anyway, even setting that aside, there's certainly a flaw here, and 184 billion Bitcoin were created out of nowhere. And so you can think before that bug was noticed and patched, you could have completed some transactions. Think about that. And imagine if it was set up in such a way that there were sufficient exchanges. What if you actually could have, actually monetarily benefited from that? What if you were able to take this Bitcoin, which shouldn't have existed in the first place, and then sell it, take the money before anybody figures out what's going on, and then just exit? That would have been bad. Anyway, the bug was patched by Bitcoin creator Satoshi Nakamoto, and a soft fork was soon rolled out to bring everything back to normal. Schwartz says the incident created a standard for how similar glitches can be addressed in the future, and here is a quote from David Schwartz now. Actually, let me read the question first. It's like broken English here, but I'm just going to read it as it was written here on Quora. What if a hacker find a glitch/bug in the Bitcoin protocol, or what if a mathematician discovers a way to calculate hashes in backward directions? So far, no mathematical paper have proven it to be impossible, so what will happen to Bitcoin then? And that's the question. I want to point out that this individual does not know what a run-on sentence is. Not a clue. Use Google, look up run-on sentence. You're guilty. All right. But here's what David Schwartz had to say in response to that. The bug would be fixed, or the hashing protocol would be switched to a new one, and Bitcoin would continue on. This is precisely what happened during the value overflow incident of 2010 and the accidental fork crisis of 2013. There is a chance such an incident could result in the blockchain having to be rewound back to a point before the bug was exploited. People who relied on payments during the incident might wind up losing money because their payments might get reversed. Exactly. And so that's what the fear is. Like, even though you can, like, quote unquote fix this if something like this happened, and it's not like it would be the end of Bitcoin, because this is like theoretically the doomsday scenario, right? But it wouldn't be. I don't think that specifically would be. And so unfortunately the people caught up in the meantime, though, especially in a world today where it's easy to move money quickly and sell and exchange, before that's rewound, my gosh, you could have some people really missing out as a result of this. But it's just kind of crazy to think how this all works. Now, meanwhile, though, and so here's the piece. I'm not going to go through this whole thing, but I just wanted to highlight this. Because, look, David Schwartz is critical of Bitcoin. And not in some sort of trolly way. He's just speaking not from an ideological perspective, but just from a factual point of view. It's like, and this is like where I always come from, is like, can we just be intellectually honest? Because there are critiques of Ripple and XRP that I have, but I'm still pro XRP. But you get the Bitcoin maxi types, it's almost like some of them, they don't want to acknowledge that there is a single argument to the downside, period. And it's ridiculous. And so David Schwartz here was simply talking about how proof of work is functionally a dead end from a technological perspective, which doesn't necessarily mean Bitcoin's going away. And look, I don't want Bitcoin to go away. I don't think it's going to go away. It may very well persist, even though it doesn't do anything. Maybe because it's the first, standards actually do matter. Like, I know that humans, what's a standards in place that actually matters to them, which is fine. And so I'm listening to the market, I'm seeing it, and maybe as a result, despite all of my skepticism, perhaps Bitcoin will have genuine staying power, which, again, I'd prefer, because I know that XRP just follows the price action of Bitcoin anyway. I'd rather just avoid, if we could, any sort of mess where, the first cryptocurrency ever actually tanks and goes to zero, which I don't think is going to happen, but I'm just saying, I also wouldn't want that here. And so, where's the part I was looking for? Here, let me search for the word dead end, because I know he said, yeah, here we go. While proof of work, with the massive electrical usage and transaction cost inefficiencies the approach entails, has proven to be a technological dead end, other consensus algorithms continue to innovate to provide better decentralization at lower cost and lower risk. Development continues on XRP's, that's XRP Ledger's consensus algorithm to improve resilience. In this regard, the recently introduced negative UNL feature is set to dramatically improve XRP Ledger's ability to tolerate validator outages while still making reliable forward progress. And so where did this stem from? And this is the reason I want to highlight this. And look, I'm happy to acknowledge when bad stuff happens, because I don't think it's the end of the world. Just like 184 billion Bitcoin being created out of nowhere, which wasn't supposed to be able to happen, just like that wasn't the end of Bitcoin back in 2010. Here's something that happened with the XRP Ledger that it was never going to be the end of the XRP Ledger. In November of 2018, and I talked about this when it was in the news, the XRP Ledger, and mind you, I didn't know about this in 2018 because it didn't make news back then for some reason, but it did 2 freaking years later, whatever, that's what happened. But the XRP Ledger halted for like 52 or 53 minutes, somewhere thereabout. It functionally halted due to technological issues. And so it just gets back to this idea. So look, it's okay. We don't have to pretend that everything is perfect right now as is. There's always room for for things to be better, for room for improvement here. But some people think that when stuff like this happens, like it's just the end of the world, and I think that's not the case. I think it's the case that people expect things to technologically go wrong, and so long as there is a path forward, it doesn't mean that XRP doesn't deserve to have an open market price that perpetually increases so long as utility continues to exist. Because, my gosh, 52 to 53 minutes out of 8 years, that's all it was ever down. Like, holy hell. And then on top of that, think about as the XRP ledger continues to be adopted, and as there are new use cases for XRP, the cryptocurrency itself, well, there will be more validators, right? And so that's part of the problem here, right? And as far as to why it went down, there wasn't sufficient support. And see, that's what I'm getting at. Like, I'm a huge fan of Ripple and XRP. That's a fair critique. I don't have an issue with that. We don't have to pretend like everything is puppies and ice cream and rainbows and Skittles or whatever the hell sounds positive to you. It's not like that all the time. This is the real world, and that's okay. But I'm just saying, proof of work though, it is. I don't see how it can be the future. And so other than, like I just said, maybe Bitcoin gets that staying power purely because it's the first, but outside of that, it just doesn't make any damn sense. Now into this piece from Crypto News Flash. Jed McCaleb, Bitcoin and Stellar Lumens can coexist in one ecosystem. And I want to make this point, there will not be one coin to rule them all. There never will be. That concept has never made sense. And so even though this is about Lumens, cool. I'm totally cool with this. I'm not a maximalist. I want multiple coins to thrive, and if Lumens ends up finding ultimately some sort of niche anywhere in the world of blockchain and cryptocurrency, if it solves a real world problem, awesome. But it's not being positioned for the same use case as XRP. It simply is not. Anyway, the piece begins. In a new episode for the Anthony Pompliano podcast, Stellar Lumens co-founder and CTO Jed McCaleb spoke about adoption, regulation, and other key issues for the platform. The interview started by discussing the beginnings of Bitcoin and how the crypto market has grown over the past 10 years. McCaleb believes that Stellar's evolution is going very well. However, he noted that the interest and hype that is perceived in the crypto market often does not translate into real-world use cases. Truer words have never been spoken, my friends. Over 7,000 cryptocurrencies, and like 3 of them do something. It's like whatever the number. I made that number, but you get what I'm saying here. They don't do a damn thing. Anyway, piece continues. In those terms, the industry still is in a nascent stage, and according to Stellar Lumens CTO, and I quote, "You don't have 1 million users using it every day for real transactions. I think that's because all of these things rely heavily on network effects. You need a lot of people in the world who are on board to make it useful. Take something like Stellar that is about payments. If you can only pay a limited number of people in the world, your system is effectively useless." And that's part of the reason that I'm kind of thrilled that as far as the real world adoption of XRP is concerned, you don't have to onboard a bunch of people, especially on the retail side, to utilize XRP. Rather, XRP is functionally used in the background. We're just taking advantage of the people that, yes, already happen to be in the space. That creates the liquidity, but you don't have to convince a bunch of people to, learn how to use, hardware wallets and stuff like that. Because it's not user-friendly. Let's be real. Even in 2020... at this stage of the game, jumping in the world of crypto, it's not as user-friendly as it should be or will be in the future. And that's okay. That's the neat thing about this. Some of us are already here, and we just take advantage of that liquidity. But anyway, McCaleb further stated that Stellar has a good idea on how to create a network effect and drive adoption of the platform by offering real-world use cases. In that sense, he noted that Stellar has had a significant year in terms of adoption. So we shall see, and again, like, I know a lot of people view Stellar as a competitor to Ripple, like I said earlier, but I don't really see it. It's not being positioned for the same use case as a bridge currency, so I'm like, The reason people say that, you know why it is. It's just because Stellar Lumens, it is a clone of XRP, and then it was modified a little bit. And so I get that, and also it's, both were created by Jed McCaleb. I get that too. But as far as functionally how they're being positioned, no. So, I don't know. You guys can tell me what you think. I just, to me, this is all just fascinating stuff. I'd love to get other perspectives from other people, so feel free to drop a comment below. I would love to hear from you, but I guess I'll go ahead and wrap up the video here. I am not a financial advisor. Do not buy or sell anything because of anything that I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the moon, Lambo!